voices blending, melodies ascending, harmony in the air. Our songs are never ending. In the barbershop we create magic. Brad and John show, yeah, it's pure classic. No instruments needed, just our vocal range. Notes flying high, it's our musical exchange. Tracy's station may try, but they can't compete. Our barbershop style, it can't be beat. Oh, the harmony of voices, so sweet. In the barbershop of life, our tunes will repeat. No need for instruments, no need for a band. Just the Brad and John show, the finest in the land.
John, did you hear that okay? John, are you there? John, do you hear me? Earth to John. John, come in.
Brad, with a tear in my eye, I say that might be your best work yet.
John is on the road this morning, and this is going to be an interesting show because, we've been trying some new things with the show. Things have been going well. People, more and more people are downloading the audio, both on the podcast and on YouTube as well. And John is on the road this morning, and he's at a secret location. And if you can figure out where he's at, and you can approach him, and you have to give the secret phrase, which I'll give here just a minute. When you approach him and give him the secret phrase, he will hand wash and wax your car where you're at and buy you breakfast at White Castle. All those things. Now, we'll mention the secret phrase in a couple minutes, and you have to figure out where he's at. And throughout the morning, John's going to be giving clues. Right now, we will just say he is west of the 90th meridian. So
that is right. And Brad, I should also say the very special prize, as I attempt to merge in traffic here, the very special prize, as you mentioned, that if someone guesses correctly, I will wash and wax their car. And depending on what the recipient looks like, I might wash and wax them.
I'm not going to touch that. Okay. Okay, we have to get right into business. We're running a little bit late already, and that's never a good thing. John is the guy who puts together johncombest.com, C-O-M-B-E-S-T. Every single day he searches the internet far and wide, finds out the most important stories that are going on in the state of Missouri, and he puts dozens of them, literally, sometimes as many as 40 stories on his website that you can go and take a look at. And it's free, johncombest.com. But what we do is we start off the show with John's top three. We bring in a very important guy who comes in, and his job is to...
We're on our way to the number one.
And he starts off with...
In third place...
Former Missouri Republican Party Chair Gene Evans was on Mark Reardon show, 97.1, on Friday, Brad, and she gave an overview of the omnibus education bill that passed the legislature last week. One important nugget from that conversation, Brad, was that she mentioned your favorite topic, 4-day school weeks. Now, you'll be surprised, Brad, which political party introduced the measure that makes it more difficult to add 4-day school weeks? That's kind of a leading question. Can you guess, Brad?
The Republicans?
Not Republicans. State Senator Doug Beck from South St. Louis County is actually responsible for the provision that will make it harder for school districts to go to 4-day school weeks, Brad. Now, I was surprised by that, but I would suggest folks check out the link that I have up today. It's about a 8 or 9 minute conversation. It starts with Mark Reardon wanting everybody to go follow his social media. I guess he got in a bit of a slap fight with Mark Maxwell from KSDK, and Reardon really wanted people to go check out his witty comments to Mark Maxwell, and then Reardon ends with something about Michigan schools that I didn't care enough about to listen to. But listen to Jean. She's fantastic. She's a really reasonable voice on school issues. And she talks a little bit, even from a fiscal conservative's perspective, Brad, if you might not like all the money that was spent on this education bill, there's still some stuff to like in there.
Now, I heard him last week, and he's going after Mark Maxwell. Plus, one of the reporters, a couple of the reporters, they're having like a little bit of a tiff back and forth on X. So I can't remember what it was about. But once again, I do remember he was talking about the fact that from what they're saying, it's blatantly obvious that they are not independent reporters. He's essentially doing the NPR accusation that they're all biased and they're all Dems and stuff like that. By the way, there's an interesting story about the NPR reporters fighting back. Remind me to talk about that because I thought it was really funny.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Anyway, okay. Are we done with that one?
We are done with number 3 today, Brad.
Up a notch to number 2.
The Elijah Harr Show, KWTO in Springfield. On Friday, Elijah had Secretary of State Jay Ashcroft on, Brad. Jay was in the news a lot this week. And did you see anything about where Jay was in the news?
I saw that. We need to talk about that. Matter of fact, when we get done with the top 3, let's go right to that because...
Yeah, let's go that one. He was in a couple different stories. But Elijah had Jay on last week on KWTO, and Jay we talked previously on the show about how Jay's blueprint, Jay's an engineer. So instead of a blueprint, since Missouri's a Republican, Jay has a red print. The second plank of that campaign was rolled out last week, Brad, and that is a crime plan. Jay wants to really help officers on the street and local municipalities and local governments tackle crime. And the foundation of what he's talking about is getting more police on the streets. So Jay goes into this on Elijah's show. It's about I think a 10 or 12 minute segment. And I have timestamps up on my website today. And you know what, Brad? We've talked about Mark Maxwell. We've talked about Jay Ashcroft. That's a really good seg, I think, into the number 1 story, which involves Mark Maxwell and Jay Ashcroft.
Well, now, let me ask you one quick question. Are you really serious that he's calling it a red print?
Yeah, it's his red print, I mean, let's remember, engineers, Brad, fix problems. Politicians make problems. Yep. Jay Ashcroft is an engineer, and he's going to get underneath the hood, and he's going to fix those problems in Missouri government, Brad.
The crazy thing about that is, and any engineers out there who know better, you can call me 314-280-8880. My dad was an engineer, and I don't think they do blueprints anymore.
I don't think they do. I think it's been on computers since about the early 90s, Brad.
Yes, and it's just printed out like in sort of black and white in various colors. But there was a reason for the blueprints, but that's a whole nother story. Okay, finally.
The number 1.
Mark Maxwell of KSDK was the first one to report this, Brad. Most folks who follow Republican politics on the weekend, which is some of us, probably saw a skirmish. It happened in Perry County at Perry County Lincoln Days. That's in the southeast part of the state. And the video shows Secretary of State candidate Denny Hoskins, who's a state senator from Warrensburg, having a verbal confrontation with Secretary of State Jay Ashcroft. Now, for starters, did you say something, Brad? I'm sorry.
No, I did not. Keep going.
Oh, okay. So for starters, no one has claimed responsibility, as far as I know, for actually recording this video. So maybe we can get to that in a minute. But the video as posted on YouTube by a guy named Jeff Smith, and he's a former Democrat state senator from St. Louis City. Jeff Smith posted the video on YouTube. Maybe Jeff Smith was at Perry County Lincoln Days. I'm not sure. But he posted it on YouTube. And it shows Denny Hoskins having a really heated conversation with Jay Ashcroft. Now, according to Denny, after Jay got done speaking at Lincoln Days, you guys have to forgive me for a minute because as Brad mentioned, I might be doing something involving drop off at a school. So I might jump in and out here for a second. But according to Denny, when Jay got done speaking at Perry County Lincoln Days, Jay said something to Denny's wife. And at that point, I guess Jay went to the back of the room and Denny went to the back of the room and they had a heated conversation. And whoever recorded this video, and so far I think no one has claimed responsibility for recording this video, you can see Denny telling Jay that Jay is, and we can't use these words on the air, Brad, but he's calling Jay a coward. We could say that on the air, and essentially saying to Jay, how dare you come up and talk to my wife in that manner? And Jay is pretty calm, doesn't have a whole lot to say throughout the video. And it was really the talk for the chattering class, Brad, that pays a lot of attention daily to Missouri political news and topics. It was quite a topic, and it seemed like everybody had an opinion on this. Brad, what did you think of this?
Well, you don't want to know what I think of it. First off, he called him chicken poop is what he called him, but he didn't use the poop word. By the way, John, it sounds like your microphone is like bouncing around on your shirt or something like that. Is that?
Okay, I'll hold it right here. I got a few things going on, Brad, but I'll do? I'll hold the microphone in my hand. Go ahead.
Well, it's like
I got you. Listeners get it. Go ahead.
Right. It's getting sort of cliquish. Okay.
Gotcha. Go ahead.
First off, do you really want me to tell my opinion on this? Seriously?
I do, yeah.
Okay. First off, it doesn't show their faces. Okay. It shows them from like mid-thigh up to like maybe bottom below their neck. Correct?
That's correct. Yeah. Well, you can see Denny's face, and you can see Denny's face, and you can see Jay's face.
Not real well. But
okay. Yeah. I mean, obviously. It appears as though whoever recorded this, and again, no one's taken credit or responsibility for it, was probably trying to be surreptitious, I guess.
Oh, yeah,
There's
no doubt about that. Yeah,
this.
right. It's almost like a body cam that's too low or something like that.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, first off, Jay needs to lose some weight. He's got a little bit of a gut on him there.
Wait, Brad, are you saying that this is a case of Denny versus Denny's buffet?
Well, I'm just saying, you ask me my opinion. See, that's where you get yourself in trouble because you asked me.
That was where I messed up, Brad.
And it looks like he's overweight, and then Denny looks like he dressed at Goodwill. Okay, can I say that? I mean,
well, red. In his defense, I mean, a red blazer is part of his thing. That's part of his look.
Right. Well, once again, it reminds me of my ex-boss, Ron Grubbs, who unfortunately is no longer with us. He used to always make the joke that if the salespeople went down to Fenton to make sales calls, the men had to wear white shoes, white patent leather shoes, and a white belt. And that's sort of the impression I got. It looked like Wall Street against Main Street. I mean, it looked like a Wall Street dude on the right, who is Jay Ashcroft, with some guy on Main Street in Podunkville, Missouri, and they're sort of jawing back and forth at each other. But Jay doesn't say much. Jay just sort of stands there, and it's the dude, it's the red jacket dude that does most of the talking. And once again, he says something about you pointed at my wife. I mean, what is that all about? He pointed at my wife.
Yeah, so I have a theory on what happened here, Brad. So I wasn't in the room, and I don't know. But here's my guess at what happened, and I think it explains why Jay didn't have a whole lot to say during this. I think, from the best that I can gather, Jay was talking, and Denny's wife was there, and maybe Denny's wife made a face or said something to somebody at the table. Jay came down, and I think everybody agrees that Jay said something. Jay said something to Denny's wife, and Denny took umbrage with that. And in my opinion, Brad, here's the crux of the whole thing. We've all said something in the heat of the moment where 30 seconds later we thought, I probably shouldn't have said that. My guess is that after Jay said something to Denny's wife, before he even knew he was going to have a conversation with Denny, I imagine Jay was like, probably shouldn't have said that. That might not have been a good idea. And then they had the conversation in the back of the room. And I think the crux of it is that when Denny was there, being a man, telling him what he thought, telling him what was on his mind, I don't think Jay was standing there listening because Jay is a pansy. I think Jay's listening and letting Denny get it out because I think Jay knew he was probably wrong. I think Jay probably knew, I should have just kept walking. I shouldn't have said anything to Denny's wife. Reminder, Brad, I wasn't there. I don't know. And I haven't talked to Jay about it. Now, Jay was on Mike Carter's show the other day, Brad. I have a link up to this today. Have you seen this?
No, I try to stay away from the Mike Carter show.
Gotcha. Well, Jay essentially said, Jay was talking about the campaign, and Mike Carter asked him about this. We should point out, too, that Mike Carter is running against Denny for Secretary of State, and Mike Carter asked him about it, and Jay said, hey, first of all, Jay started with my favorite, Brad, which is efforting metrics. Do you know that Jay has put 110,000 miles on his car, Brad?
And I know you don't like that.
Well, no, I think we should elect people purely by how many miles they drive. I think we should elect truckers to be governor of the state of Missouri.
I think we might be better off that way.
We should consider what their mileage is
right.
in some rubric. But the point is, I think Jay knew that he was wrong. But when he was on Mike Carter's show, he said, hey, it's a long campaign. The pressure might have gotten to Denny. Denny seems to be very stressed out. So Jay certainly wasn't apologizing, but I do think Jay wants to move on, Brad.
Okay, here you ask my opinion. Here's my opinion also. How Jay could essentially cinch the governor's race when this happened and Denny you chicken poop. That's what he kept calling him, chicken poop.
Yeah.
But with a different word in the end of chicken. Jay should have essentially MF'd him back about 10 times, kneed him in the groin, gave him a karate chop to the neck, and when he fell on the ground, stomp in his face. And then people go, yes, I'm voting for Jay.
That would have been, although my only nitpick with that, Brad, is that depending on which martial art you use, the chop might be from China. And we cannot have anything from China in Missouri, Brad.
I got that. Hey, by the way, did I tell you about this? There's some news. That's John Combest. Check out his site at johncombest.com. Did I tell you we have a new sponsor?
I did not, but I bet it's good.
Oh, why are you laughing already? Why are you laughing?
I bet it's good.
You want me to play the new sponsor?
I do, yeah.
And matter of fact, this might come in handy with Denny. Okay, you ready?
Oh, is it about Washington, Missouri, and feces?
Hold on a minute. Let's play it.
Don't let your dog leave a poop in my yard. I'm tired of cleaning up. This mess is so hard. Keep your furry friend on a tight leash, or else you'll find your lawn decoration won't be in peace. I got my flowers blooming, ain't got no time for mess, but your canine thinks my yard's the best. I'll put up a sign to make it crystal clear. No dogs allowed. Please show some sincere fear. Don't let your dog poop in my front yard. It's time to take responsibility. Try to be on guard. I wanna step in it, don't wanna face the smell. So take control of your dog. It's time to do it well.
Show some courtesy. Don't let your dog poop in somebody's yard. But if you have that problem, give us a call. We're Washmo Pooper Scoopers. That's right, Washmo Pooper Scoopers. We scoop the poop.
I want to thank them as sponsoring a new sponsor of the show, Washmo Pooper Scoopers.
It's brilliant, Brad. I love it. Hey, I'm going to give a hug and a kiss, so I'm going to go on mute here for a minute. I think we're up against break, right?
Yeah, we're going to take a break. Here we go.